We've got 7:10. All right. Well, here we go. So July 1st, happy July 1st, happy upcoming 4th of July weekend, and I hope you're all enjoying respite from the heat here. It's coming down a little bit here in Boston. We're probably into the 70s, which is nice. As yesterday was an oppressive day. Just the 3 days of the real hot stuff, everything starts to get warm and stay warm. So anything concrete, buildings, especially. So here we are, and we're going to do a little review of the Great Southern New Hampshire Radio giveaway. We've got some photos to share from that. And who was going to feature those, John? Was that
That'll be me. I have to give full credit to
Jim
Jim
Ligouri had taken the photos?
and he was kind enough to
No.
share them with me. So I just loaded them up onto a flash drive just for ease, and I would just walk through them. There's not a lot. It's maybe only about a dozen to 12, 15 photos. But
Well,
we spend so much time yammering the past, so many photos to show the past two meetings that we never got a chance to cover this topic and actually allow members to show, well, what did you come back with? Or what do you have?
yeah, either from the Southern New Hampshire radio giveaway or from the Brookline show that we had. So, for those who may not be familiar with the radio giveaway, Charlie Perquette, one of our long-term presidents from a few years back in the club, was approached by Bruce Phillips, who had noticed, Charlie has a pretty small circle of family, and he has a much bigger circle of radios. And as he's trying to thin out the herd up there a little bit, before he has to make some decisions what to do with them, Bruce said, "Well, you know what? We know all these guys who love radios, and I think maybe we can put these two equations into motion here and help you relieve some of your supply and help us find some things we were looking for or some parts we needed." And it all worked out pretty well. So, John, if you want to cue up the photos, and
Yeah,
we'll take a look, see at how things went down up there.
yeah, let's do that. Can everyone see okay?
There we go.
All right. I can maybe increase this just a tick. Let's see if I can do that. That's maybe a little bit better. But at any rate, yes, again, all full thanks goes to Jim Ligouri for taking these photos and sharing with me. I'm just more his proxy. But I think we know a lot of these people in the photos by now. And so obviously they, I cooperate here. Hold on a second here, folks. I don't know why it's not letting me. There we go. It's some of the gang behind the. We have Howard, of course, and Paul, and Bruce, of course, and I think I see Roger back there. Anyway, here are. This is, I guess you can play Name That Radio. We're seeing a lot of stuff in the back, but there are certainly plenty to select from. So I'll just move on here.
John,
yeah.
John, can
Yes.
you tell us how this actually started? Was it a Le Mans start where people had to run and the first person who got there, or was it the early bird catches the worm, or what was the approach?
Well, actually, I have to have someone who actually attended. I was unable to make it. My understanding was Bruce had sent out we had photos posted on the groups.io site, and members had got a chance to sort of put dibs on certain things that they really wanted. So I think what the arrangement was that anyone who had picked ahead of time would get the ones they had asked for, and then from there, I guess it was the running of the bulls, or the Le Mans. I like the Le Mans start analogy. A long anachronism, but I love seeing it. Who was anyone on who attended here on the meeting who perhaps could share some thoughts there?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, right, Larry, of course you were. Did you do
Yeah.
a Le Mans start?
I think the Bruce instructions that Bruce gave were anybody who showed up. I mean, people helping out showed up at 8, and we were going to open it up to others at 9. And Bruce was pretty clear that no one would be allowed in before 9. So people started arriving around 9 o'clock and moseyed in. There was no fighting. Everything was civil, and a lot of the stuff. Of course, we didn't expect any, but that's just my sense of humor poking through. But Bruce had, like you said, people could sign up for the items they were interested in ahead of time. And nobody tried to sign up for 2 items. And so people came and picked up their stuff. And, it was pretty steady there, maybe until around 11:30 in the morning. And we were still there for a couple hours after that. But we got rid of a lot of stuff for Charlie, and people were glad to get it.
What percentage do you think you were able to get rid of? It was like half, or
Of the stuff in the garage, I'd say a third to half.
not bad. Not bad.
What did you take home, Larry?
The only thing I take home, I gave a very temporary home to a Philco 48-482. It's a large tabletop AM/FM shortwave set, kind of a top of the line Philco. And the only reason I did that is I needed it to help troubleshoot another one that I had on my bench. And it served the purpose. And I got the second one, the one from Charlie's, working as well. And it is going to go into a silent auction that we're going to have later in the year.
Oh, great.
Larry, is that model a version of a Tropic?
I've never heard it referred to that way, so I can't tell you.
Is it a square, more of a square shape than a traditional table with curves? I'm just trying, I can't.
It's a large rectangle. I guess the closest thing I'd compare it
I'll have to
to
look
is
it up.
one of the European sets. It's about the same size and quality as a Grundig table model or something like that.
I think I do have the right one, the right vision in my head then. Thank you. Okay, let's see.
Let's see.
Do you
So
have
we
any
have
more shots there, John, for us?
oh yeah, there's more to be. There's a bit more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Oh, wait a minute. This is the extremely rare Zenith combination radio
Yes.
and portable toilet.
That's right. That's right.
That's-
Surround sound when you go in there.
I believe they call it the Zenith pot side.
That's right.
Now the question is,
Moving right along.
who came home with that one?
Yeah.
Moving right along. So we have a sort of a as you would enter photo, it looks like, with lots of things stacked up along the side here, and all the crew way in the distance. I think I see your wife there, Larry.
Yep, she was there.
There we go. Closer up. There's Net. So we have a little bit closer up what's going on there. Here we go. Now here's some a lineup here of a wide variety of stuff. I see boat anchor at the bottom, and this is your chance to name that console.
They look to be fairly early. I'm not quite sure of the one with the big 3 dialer on top. I can't. The grill cloth is striking though. I mean, they look original. They're beautifully restored. They look like they may be from the same manufacturer. I mean, the escutcheons look fairly similar.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I agree.
You can't zoom in there a little bit here. Maybe I can.
Let's see
Doesn't
if I
let me.
can.
even though I have a touch screen, I can't really zoom.
How's that? Does that give you, now we're a little close. I could try moving it. I don't know if this is. If we get a name, if we get close enough. There's something there. I think it's writing. I can't tell, but I think that's writing. But I think
Looks like
we're
there should be something on the escutcheon.
yeah. The problem is now we're starting to lose granularity of, clarity of the
Yeah.
photo. But
I
this
don't know,
is
maybe a silver tone. I mean,
the other one's
but
interesting.
those
That one-
it's the cloths that are, if they're original, I'm having a hard. They're striking.
yeah, I agree.
Very
Quite
nice.
The interesting thing is this looks like it has writing, whereas this one here, I see less
Yeah.
obvious right now. That doesn't mean it could be different models or something, it's the same manufacturer, but I agree they look to be.
They're both missing the same knob.
Yeah, I know. How about that?
Under the dial.
They are twins.
While we're on, just to digress for a moment. So there's a guy here in my town who, he's an old style hardware guy, but he sells anything to make a buck. So he has all these gas grills. He puts them out in front of the store on the sidewalk. And I'm going by and I notice that several of them are knobless. They have no knobs. So given my experience at radio meets, I had to ask him the question. I said, now, did you purposely take those off? Or are they just not fully assembled? Knob thieves, much like one may encounter at a radio event. I've heard of a few stories where folks will pull the knobs off radios if they've been looking. I said, you've got to be kidding me off, because I'm sure you could find them, if not from, whatever, the Weber grill site or, on eBay.
Yeah.
We're stealing knobs from gas grills now. So I don't know. It's probably some renegade band of radio collectors who've now turned their sites. Anyway.
Yeah. People know no bounds, I'm afraid, these
I
days.
know. It's a horrible thing. There's a cute little kind of a mini console behind there. It looks like it has two eyes with the way the escutcheons are on the right.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool set.
Oh, that looks, let me see if I can zoom in there. What I can do. I'm gonna pull it over. It reminds me of what was the one that Larry had? I think it was Larry that posted with it lit up and it looked like two eyes glowing.
Yeah, that was me. That was a Patterson PR10.
Yeah, that's right. I saved that photo because I thought, wow, I never used it. It'd make for an awesome, Halloween backdrop. I don't know, but it's definitely the dials. Reminds me a lot of that Patterson.
I think
actually,
those other
We should have had Charlie give us a little note card.
there is
those
kind of
other two
interesting-
consoles are Atwater Kent's model 55s.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I just found one on my phone here.
Oh, good. Find,
Yeah,
right?
sure they are. I recognize it now.
Yeah,
The problem is my AK5 is just a bare chassis, so I can't recognize it when it's in a cabinet.
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny.
Well, it's a Philco over on the left, correct, with the little knob,
This one
That's a
here.
38 Philco, yeah,
the little
From
wheelie
Cent-
knob.
concentric
Then
tuning.
you got a
yeah.
couple. It looks like one of those is just a little Bakelite GE on one of those older sets. I can't tell about the maroonish one to the left of it. A little 5-tuber, but
Yeah.
cute little set.
Yeah,
If you're looking for small, that's what you want.
they look complete. They still have their knobs.
That's right.
But so let's see here. So here's another look. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit here. See what we got going on over here. We got a YM, some newer stuff here. We got a cassette deck. Oh, look, is that a TO there? I think it is.
Is it a sailboat or
Might be. Let's take a look. See if I can get it zoomed in here.
it's a tough angle?
Yep, sailboat.
There we go.
It's not a TO though. It's just an AM radio.
Oh, okay. You're right. You are right.
Still, those are pretty cool. I like those.
I think that one found a home.
Very good.
The wide variety. There's some newer stuff over in this sector of the.
Looks like a little Philco near Tom Scarpelli there,
Yeah.
little leatherette Philco. Those
This
are
one.
always. They used to get leatherettes before they started killing the Naga hides.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah, so let's see here. Let me just go back on Zoom so I can go move on. When you share photos, it only allows, it seems to, once you zoom, I don't get the cursor to move up. All right, here's some more good stuff.
It's an interesting console with the 3 white radios on top of it. Can't say I've seen one of those before.
Okay, this is name that radio, name that console.
Is that a Philco? It looks like a Philco dial from like a smaller table set.
Is that I lose the resolution to tell you if I see anything, if it looks like something is here, but don't have the resolution.
That's definitely.
Yeah.
Now they had a very I think due to the war there was a Philco that they actually stuffed. I think it was a car radio chassis into a console. It was kind of an ugly job if you look at the guts of it, but I don't know if that's that model or if it's a different model. I couldn't say.
I like
And it
the
just
design now.
looks pretty basic, you know.
Let's see here. So I'll just go back here a little bit. Yeah, no, I mean, nowadays we've got the
Something for everyone, big, small, and in between.
That's right, test equipment and all. You name it, this is the place to go.
How many of those consoles wandered off, Larry? Those are always the toughies to find homes for. Do you have any luck with those?
Quite a few. I wasn't keeping
That's good.
track, but
That's good.
quite a few of those found new homes.
Good. I mean,
That's
oftentimes they're the overlooked.
A lot of them look to be, they still none of these look to be basket case. They look all in solid shape and ready to be brought to the shop.
Had any of these, Larry? Did you know had any of these been worked on prior, or were they just awaiting restoration, or just waiting for sale or trade? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Charlie did much to them because he had so much stuff.
Yeah, you could spend a lifetime restoring that.
Yeah, several lifetimes restoring it. Because this was the only things we were dealing with was the stuff in his garage. There's a lot more behind that.
Yeah. Well, in case you didn't know who you are, Larry, there you are.
Is that me?
It looks to be, or at least a reasonable facsimile.
Oh, that's me.
Now, exactly what is Larry up to? Inquiring minds need to know. Okay, well, we don't know, I guess.
I don't remember.
All right, now here are.
What about the test equipment?
A lot of it went.
See what's going on here. Okay, this is just so that because we saw some of the console with the 3 white fibers there on top. So there's a lot of the test stuff. That's a pretty big something or another. What is that?
It's a Tektronix piece, probably a scope.
This really with my.
Oh no, I thought you were pointing to the blue thing. That radio, I am not sure what that is.
Yeah,
just radio.
That's just not jumping at me when I look at it. That's why I was curious to see if anyone knew. It doesn't. It almost looks European, but it's not something I'm typically used to seeing. So it must be some obscure brand or something not in the typical. Huh. Interesting. Okay. There's Charlie himself coming up for a visit. And here are more goodies. Now here's more inside. Now this is our chance to see there's a lot more consoles parked there. Now see that, Paul? It looks like another one that's so that must be the original grow cloth. I see so this pattern here.
That's the same radio before it was moved outside.
Oh, okay, well then there we go. That would explain things. You know what, I might have stored these in the wrong order because when Jim sent them to me, he sent them to me in 2 batches, so they might have not actually been stored in time order on my part. There's Charlie again. Coming up for a visit. And of course, Bruce, I'm sure, doing his usual organized. You've been caught again. And it would appear that that is it.
It looks like it was a pretty nice day for it too. The weather cooperated.
We had a good weekend because the show the day before for the Spring Brookline was
It
great.
was quite nice too. Yeah.
Yeah, we were well rewarded for our patience.
Yeah, John, why don't you show Roger's photos? There's only 9 of them, I think.
Yeah, okay. If you would give me 30 seconds, let me just let me log into the groups.io because you have posted it up there. So if you just give me just a moment, yeah, let me stop sharing. That really would for a moment here, guys, and I can do that. It'll take only about 30 seconds to hop on and do that. And I can share that.
Greg, you know, New Hampshire really isn't a long drive from Wisconsin.
Not far.
Well, it's
So
kind
I
of
recognize a lot of those radios though. That was like a 39 Philco, I think, with the push buttons. That
Yeah.
little console.
The price was right, you know, so a little donation if you wish. Good stuff.
Well, funny enough, my cousin's driving from Wisconsin to go to a friend's wedding in Connecticut. So, yeah, so they said, see, let that be inspiration for you, Greg.
Going to be 92 on the 4th of July here.
Sounds like you are getting what we just had.
Yeah.
You know, it was in last week they were showing that, you know, it was roasting out in the Pacific Northwest and in El Paso, Texas, 57 and rain. So things are a little bit out of whack, but it seems like they're kind of getting back to normal. You know, the hot in the upper plains and Midwest and cooling
Mhm.
in the Northwest. And for us, well, another rainy holiday weekend, but oh well. Now, this is an august looking group.
There we go. Here's our esteemed leaders of the past and present. Yeah, so we got.
It's a good photo.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be nice to have. You know, 'cause we have Charlie and Roger and Bruce and some guy named Larry and of course Howard. So it's nice. That's a great photo. See, move on to the next one. There's another shot. See, I'll see if I can jockey the photos and groups that I'll get. Hold on here. How's that?
There you go.
That's a good shot. Plus, you got some nice appropriate foreground and a little bit in the background. So
Yes.
what a perfect photo.
On the left side of that photo, there's a cardboard box filled with cars and
Yes,
trucks.
yes,
They're like
little antiques,
promotional transistor radios. I grabbed a 66 Cadillac out of there because my son-in-law has a 68 Cadillac. And he's also a model car aficionado. So I fixed the transistor radio and he's working on the body and paint of the Cadillac. And so
Nice,
it will
very
live
nice.
on.
And now is that a period radio, or is it done more recently just as they chose the 66 Cadillac?
No, I think it was a period radio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. That's well worth it. See
Maybe
here.
if you bought the Cadillac, they gave you a transistor radio.
Well, you know, they promo things were, you could get a lot more goodies back then than you do today. Because my uncle was a comptroller. You know, he worked for Lincoln Mercury for years, and before that, Studebaker. And he came. I remember he also somehow had ties to Chrysler because both my brother and myself got promotional cars for Chryslers. I got a a Dodge Polara convertible, which I regret to this day. It was a '66 Polara. It went in black, and I regret to this day of I played with it too much and it got wrecked. I wish I still had it because you don't see them too often.
Hey, John?
Yeah.
Anybody know the difference, or what difference between a Cadillac and a Chevy?
What's that, Bill? We'll bite.
We'll bite Bill.
The Cadillac has lock washers.
I would have just said several $1,000s.
There was
Those lock washers are expensive.
Yeah.
The old body by Fisher, they both had, right?
Well, there is, and Noah would know this. There was this car called the El Morocco, which was a combination '57 Chevy and '57 Cadillac tail end. It was sort of a melding of the two, so you could have both. Bill, whether or not you got lock washers, that's an interesting question. It's Chevy DNA suggests it didn't. I have a photo of it. I was at a show just recently with one, but anyway, yeah. So we obviously have enough people there looking at this stuff. So we had enough pretty good attendance. It looks like. And a good photo of Bruce and Charlie.
And Charlie, of course, was one of the key orchestrators in getting out the paper newsletter for so long.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a little workshop up there.
Oh, there's plenty of stuff here.
Always on time.
Yeah. Let's see here. And some more of the crew. Very nice. And well, so we've got you again there, Larry. Bruce, someone's got a console that maybe is taking a trip.
That's a RCA amplifier and speaker that goes with the radio is in a separate console.
Oh,
But that's the amplifier and speaker for it. And that's one of the items that Bruce ended up with.
That's cool.
wow. Interesting. So unusual stuff.
Can't give you the model number, but it's funny. Bruce wanted the amplifier, and of course, the model number was in it, and he looked it up on the internet on his phone while we were sitting there, and he found out the radio that it went with was also there, so he got more than he bargained for when he left.
Very good. It worked out.
All right.
And that amplifier uses a single UX210 in the output.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. And that's why Bruce advertised for a UX210 recently.
Yes. So it comes together. Well, I think that's it, because I think we just cycled back to the start of the photos.
You got them all.
Great. But so that
Looks like a great day was had by all, and I'm sure Charlie appreciated the help, and makes it, a lot easier when they're all going to places where somebody will take care of it, repair it, restore it, enjoy it. So
Yeah,
good job all around.
It was a lot of fun. Just doing the whole thing as a group and getting to know some of the club members a little better. It was a really good time.
Social as well as material gains were made. Very nice. Best of both worlds.
great. Well, let's see here. So before we go to a round robin, first man on deck that we have a demo from will be Tom, who has a unusual Wheatstone punch and code Morse code reader. And so Tom, are you still ready to show that?
Yep,
Beautiful.
there we go, John.
Beautiful. Well,
Okay, so you go to a meet of one kind or another, and you come across a lot of things. And in this case, I came across something that was labeled a Morse code practice set. And can you see this okay?
It's not showing up yet.
Not showing up yet, okay. Nothing showing?
It's all it says is you have started sharing screen share.
Okay. Okay, I can't get it to do anything at all. So, Don, why don't you take this down? I'm seeing it. If you can do it, take this down and I'll fiddle around. I had trouble with my normal browser and I had to use a Chrome browser, and that doesn't seem to like this for some reason. Can you kill this, John?
Yeah,
We can circle back.
I just did.
Okay, thank you. I'll come on later then.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. So we haven't heard from people with all the meets we've had. We've had Kutztown, we've had Spring Brookline, of course, and we had the giveaway. We must have, if not any of those, people must have had projects or other acquisitions outside of those shows that they want to
Well, I have a project.
Great. All right, Pear. And then we'll go circle with Larry afterwards. Go ahead.
Well, somebody from the Packard Club who's moving down to the Carolinas brought me a radio to repair, and then his brother, who lives nearer here, was going to come and pick it up. And it's a Colonial Princess is the model, 33 AC. 33 AC is the model. Colonial is the brand, and there were several different cabinets, Princess being one of them. And I've discovered 3 burned out wire wound resistors. And by replacing them, I got some life out of it. But the mysterious thing to me was the volume control of this radio is connected with, it looks like another dial cord type arrangement. But what it does is it moves the coils, 4 RF coils, in and out of their transformers. And that controls the volume for the set. And it works really nicely. And I said to myself, a lot of other manufacturers had real problems with their wire wound volume controls, including my Atwater Kent 44. While this setup, extremely bulky and cumbersome, it works like a charm. So I just thought I would mention that. It has 3 24As, and it has a 27, and it has push-pull 45s and an 80 rectifier.
Oh,
So that's it.
Well,
Very
quite
nice.
often, in addition to the technical engineering choices that were made, you know, there were patent considerations and obviously cost considerations. So all 3 of those things probably went into the equation, and some decisions were probably based on, you know, the engineer who designed it, his own ego. So, you know, lots of reasons for different ways of solving different problems.
Yeah, right.
so since Larry, you had raised your hand, what do you got going on?
Okay, so I just want to show you this. This is a very recent acquisition. I picked it up at the Gray Recycling Center a week ago. It's a 10 transistor AM/FM portable from 1961. I found the model on a Radio Museum. And
based on politics. In fact, the head of the PUC was the head of the Democratic Party in the state.
What brand
So-
is it, Larry?
Toshiba,
It's a Toshiba. All right.
Interesting. Very
and
interesting.
it runs on 4 D cells. The battery compartment was corroded. I had to clean it up, but that was the only problem with it.
Amazing.
No cracks in the plastic whatsoever. All right. The whip antenna is perfect, all intact. The only cosmetic issue is there's a little bit of the chrome missing. You probably can't see it, but on the plastic here, there's
Yeah.
a little bit of the chrome missing, a little dent in the grill here, and another little piece down here of the grill is missing. You probably can't see any of that, but
Yeah, we can see. It's actually, you can see pretty well. But for free, some of these cosmetics can be fixed with a little bit of adjustment, but looks great.
Or if it plays well, who cares?
yeah.
Perfect for the garage.
Why would anybody get rid of it in the first place? I mean, that's.
Just for kicks, I poked around right before the meeting tonight, and there's one, there's a Primo one on eBay right now. It has the leather case that it went into. It has all the original documentation and everything, and the guy's asking $230 for it. Now, whether he gets it or not is another story.
Wow.
There was another auction where one sold. No, it wasn't an auction. One on Radio Attic, which was probably a little cleaner than this, but not by much. Went for $85, and there was another eBay sale. I think it was $44 it went for. So just to give you an idea. So anyway, I thought it was kind of a cool idea. It'll probably end up on my table at some point because I'm not in an installation mode right now. I'm more getting rid of stuff. But I couldn't just let this lay at the dump. I had to grab it.
No, you did the right thing. It would be very sad.
Larry, if I may, was the one you saw in Radio Attic, was that in Lenny Bickford's? Lenny is a NEVIC member and a pal of Bruce. He does some transistor repair for Bruce on the transistor sets. He does a very nice job. He's cleans them up real well and gets them playing real well. If you ever wanted to pursue that, look for Power or Not. I imagine he's got probably a pretty extensive boneyard of he loves the transistors, channel masters. He's got all kinds of stuff. And if you ever wanted to see if he even had a set you could pirate, he might be the guy to ask. He occasionally comes to the Brookline meets.
Yeah, I probably won't take it any further because I just don't have time for any more projects.
Yeah.
But
it's free and it works, so that's it's done.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. Speaking of dumps, my sister volunteers, I think, in the Lincoln, Massachusetts, a collection yard, recycling center / dump, and I guess she volunteers one day a week on Saturday, I think. And I've told her if anything interesting comes that way that looks vintage electronics, do not let that get thrown out. I will find a home for it, if nothing else, at our free table.
That's exactly what I did last time. There was a Grundig chassis minus the cabinet of a stereo receiver. And I said, this is too good to let lie here. I'm going to put this on the free table the next Brookline. And that's exactly what I did. And it disappeared.
Yeah, that's a good thing, But Rob, I thought I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I have some trivia. I'm starting on an SP600, trying to get the thing running. And I'm sure this group has already seen the plastic sprayed capacitors, the Bumblebee capacitors. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but I would like to show you some examples of bad ones.
Sure.
All right, let me see. I'll hit share screen.
But
And
that's pretty easy, isn't it, Rob?
what's that?
To find bad examples of those.
Yeah, can you see the SP600?
We
Not
just,
yet.
Okay, so that's what I'm starting on, and it's got a whole lot of stuff to it. But the first thing I had to do is, you know, the caps. This is how many of them had to be swapped out. And on the front here,
Rob?
I have the worst examples.
Hey, Rob, are you trying to share your screen?
Yeah, can you
Okay,
see?
you haven't shared yet.
Oh, well, let's see. How do I do that?
So in the center, at the lower center, there's a share screen button. So if you put your cursor on the Zoom window towards the bottom, there you go.
There we go.
Okay,
Perfect.
there's
There you
SP600. And this is a -11. It doesn't have the crystal filters you normally see up here. It was made in most of the parts have date codes in 52, so it's up there older. And that's what the ugly thing looks like. I've replaced this RF deck, but the one I found I managed to get was from a newer model, so I still have some difficulties. But these are the caps. Those are the bumblebees, and you can see they're oil-filled plastic caps that as they get old, the plastic shrinks, and with heat, they crack open.
Looks like they do.
Yeah, see, this is closer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so what? Well, whatever. It's what they are. And other than that, the only thing I thought that might be interesting if nobody's seen the what do they call them? Black Beauty of Death, I think I've referred to. But yeah, the other thing is this is the RF deck that I pulled out of it, and you can see there's these missing prongs. Every band has a set of 4 ceramic modules that have all the inductors and capacitors. Well, it kind of shows them down here. One is the antenna input and each of the stages, and as they switch, they go in and out of these connections, and these connectors are absolutely unavailable. But I was fortunate enough to hook up with someone that had a part set, and they sent me one, and it looks really good. I just have to make it work now.
Beauty.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But you can see, I didn't write this on here. The guy that I got the radio from probably did. But yeah, it'll be fun. But I thought the capacitors were kind of interest. Heard about them a lot. Now I saw them. That's about it.
Oh, that's
Well,
cool.
good luck with it.
No, thank you. Now, how do I get out of this?
Here, I can do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rob. That was great. In fact, it was very obvious. You could see the splitting at those capacitors.
Well, when they first came out with them, they were supposed to be the best capacitor ever and last forever. But then you take an oil-filled and then you seal it in plastic. Well, you heat oil, you know what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
Well, they probably thought the same about the Edsel, and here we are.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So looks like Tom is still. Oh, hey, Bob's got something. Hello,
Harris.
Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Hi. Yeah, I've got I'm gonna share my screen. I've got a question. I was looking for some feedback from the group. I just got like 3 or 4 pictures on a project I'm working on now. So I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Sure can.
It says fill code 46200.
Mm-hmm. You got it, Bob.
So this background to this is several weeks ago on the group's
Oh, yes, I
email.
remember this.
I asked for some feedback on how to replace this capacitor with a coil on it. And I think Bill Holly responded. I wanted to thank Bill. He offered to help redesign it. I was looking for feedback because when I'd done this in the past, I found a capacitor that was the same diameter as the coil and reused the coil and put it on the new capacitor. Well, this time I wasn't able to do that. This shows where the So this is the capacitor right here. It's C402, and you can see it's connected to the grid and the converter. So that was one of the questions that had come up when I asked for feedback. Well, what part is it? So I included this time so folks could see what it actually does. And the feedback I got was, well, it filters out some frequencies that aren't being used. So maybe you don't need it. Other builds would have offered to help redesign it. Somebody said, well, if you got a smaller capacitor, put tape on it and then slide the coil over it. So I got quite a bit of feedback, and this is what I decided to do. So this is the original right here. And this shows well, my change. And I put 2 layers of foam tape on a capacitor. It was this capacitor here. It's in a different picture, so the size isn't comparable. I didn't think to put both capacitors in the same picture at the same time, except for here. And I put I reused the coil, heated it up a little bit and slid it off and put it on here. And so here you can see, excuse me, here's the capacitor here, and here's 2 layers of tape, and here's the coil. And I put the capacitor on my scope, so I figured out which was the foil end, because the coil was connected to the foil end before, which is here. So after I did all this, I sent out another email, replied on the same message and said, thanks for the feedback, and here's what I did. So then I got more feedback, which is saying, well, you know, the coil is too far away from the capacitor. It's not going to work. You might get some oscillations, things of that nature. So one of the things that I had done when I had started to put the radio back together is I tried it without the capacitor and the coil. The radio didn't really work. Maybe I get one station. I put the capacitor in without the coil. The radio seemed to work fine. I put the capacitor back in with the coil on it, and the radio works just fine. So this is what it looks like when it's back in there. And so here's my questions are on the next page. I'm given the feedback that said it won't work because the coil is too far away from the capacitor, implies that there's some coupling between the capacitor and the coil, but I'm not aware of that. I know that coils can have interaction, and that's why sometimes you mount them at right angles to each other if they're close. So my question is, why is the coil mounted on the cap? Is that just for convenience? Is there actual coupling between the coil and the cap? And if there is, can somebody point me in the right direction so I can learn more about it?
Can I take a shot at that?
Sure, go ahead, Larry.
Okay, so that's a series resonant trap for some frequency that you probably don't have to worry about, but it also serves as the bypass capacitor on the cathode of the converter tube. So that's why the radio didn't work too well without it in place, and why it worked okay, just fine when you installed the capacitor only.
Yeah.
But it's important for at least the capacitor to be there, whether you need that resonant trap or not. In this day and age, those transmissions at those frequencies probably aren't there anymore.
That's consistent with the feedback I got on the group.
Right, I read that and I agreed with that feedback. I'm just repeating that feedback.
Yeah.
I think some of that was from Bill Holly. But as far as coupling, the outer foil of the capacitor in proximity to the coil, there will be capacitive coupling between the turns of the coil and the outer foil throughout the whole coil. Now, the capacitive coupling isn't going to matter much where it's on the end where it's connected to the foil end of the capacitor, but at the other end at certain frequencies, you know, you've got inductance in series with that capacitive coupling. So it will probably affect the resonant frequency of that series resonance circuit if the turns of the coil are a greater distance away from the outside foil of the capacitor. But seeing as we're not really concerned about that anymore, who cares?
So it probably doesn't make any difference then, I mean, in terms of the performance of the radio, it doesn't make any difference, but there is some capacitive coupling going on. Is that true when the foil end is to ground, which it is?
Well, it's the foil end is to ground only through that inductor. So it will make a difference in the resonant frequency of that trap.
Okay. All right. Why do they put the coil on the capacitor?
Probably because it was a cheap way to make the trap.
Okay.
And also, you got to look back at how this thing is powered. Is there a transformer supply or direct supply?
It's
Because
all American 5. It's got 5 tubes, no transformer.
Okay, so there's probably a filter there to knock out any 60 hertz.
Yeah, this is an RF. This will be from the size of that coil, though. This isn't going to be a filter for 60 hertz. This is going to be this is going to resonate at some radio frequency because that's a tiny inductor.
Okay, now, I couldn't see the comparative size, but okay.
The size of this capacitor here, it's about 0.61 inches in diameter. Just so you know, this one is smaller, but I wouldn't compare the two. They're two different pictures. All right. Well, thank you all. I appreciate the feedback. This is helpful.
Well, if we could just find some guy from Philco who was down there when they were designing, we'd get an answer for you.
Yeah, I've seen this in another radio I worked on. The coil was on the capacitor. So, all right. Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing, Bob.
Yeah, thank you,
Brought
Bob.
to you
That's
by the
actually-
same people who invented the predictor.
That
Oh,
Philco
yeah.
48
Well, that answers everything.
that Philco 48-482 I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that I brought home from Charlie's and was working on, that has this same trap in it as well. I just
Okay.
left it alone. It was the only capacitor that I didn't change in the radio I was fixing up for somebody because I looked at where it was in the circuit and said the chance of that capacitor failing is probably slim to nil. And if it goes leaky, nobody would notice anyways. The circuit would hardly notice because it's a cathode bypass.
Interesting stuff.
So can I ask a rookie question while we're talking about cathode bypasses like that? It seems like I've got a number of radios in the audio section. That capacitor in that position is electrolytic and it's in parallel with like a 1000 ohm resistor. And a lot of times it seems when that electrolytic fails open, the 1K resistor gets smoked.
The capacitor failing open would not cause that resistor to smoke, but the problem that causes the resistor to smoke could take the capacitor out potentially.
Okay, so it happens in the reverse order. Okay.
Yeah, and
I was trying to figure out how the capacitor would make the resistor go, but it's because I was thinking backwards. It was the other way around.
I can't think of any way that it would. If the resistor goes, it typically.
I was thinking if somehow there was AC that was going to ground through the capacitor, and then when the capacitor opened, that AC that used to go through the cap went through the resistor along with whatever DC was there. Maybe that was enough to cook the resistor, but I was totally speculating and guessing at that point.
The most likely failure mode is the audio output stage where this capacitor is on that cathode is probably drawing too much current because the coupling cap to the grid is leaky and putting a positive voltage on the control grid.
It's messing the bias up.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's messing up the bias, and therefore the tube's drawing more current. That cathode resistor is getting really hot as a result. Its resistance goes high, or it opens up completely, and then you have, at that point, you've got full plate voltage on the cathode, and it's going to take out the cathode bypass capacitor.
All right, that makes perfect sense. Thanks.
You could clip out that capacitor entirely in a working radio, and the only thing you'll notice is less gain and probably better audio quality, because it'll put inverse feedback on when you do that, you'll put inverse feedback on that audio output stage.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Was that like
Tom-
some kind of a phase inversion or something?
No, it's just if the cathode bypass keeps the signal voltage off the cathode, and that allows the maximum signal at the plate of the tube.
I see.
Without the capacitor there, you get an audio voltage on the cathode, which subtracts from the signal on the plate. And it also introduces inverse feedback to the circuit, which typically reduces distortion and improves frequency response.
Yeah.
Very good.
Doesn't the capacitor affect whether or not you get all of the bass coming through? I had the understanding that if that capacitor isn't there or is too small, then the higher frequencies will get through, but the bass will be less.
That's absolutely true if the capacitor if you put in too small a value of a capacitor, but if you remove it entirely, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of capacitance, but probably not enough to make a difference at audio frequencies. So like if you replace a 25 microfarad with a 0.01 microfarad, you'll definitely notice an attenuation of low frequencies relative to higher frequencies. But if you remove the capacitor entirely, you're probably just going to notice reduction in gain across the whole audio spectrum.
Yeah, it's usually, oops, okay, I'm not muted. Yeah, it's usually something on the order of a 25 to 50 microfarad capacitor that's only got about a 15 to 25 volt rating on it as an electrolytic before it meets its demise.
Yep.
Tom, how you doing? Have you got your screen ready to go there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what's going on. I had to use another computer, another browser, whatever. Anyway, you go to a show and you poke around a bunch of boxes. I found one box that said code practice set. And I looked inside and I'll show you what I saw if this works this time. There we go. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So here's this thing they called a code practice set. And I looked in there and I said, yeah. I've seen a lot of code practice sets. They're not very interesting, but what the heck, for $2, I'll take the thing home. And I got it home and I started realizing that this was a very, very historic piece of electronic equipment. If you remember back to the early days of Morse code telegraphy, people sent Morse code by hand. They used a hand key, and there was a limit to the upper speed that a person could send by hand. And in the 1850s, a guy by the name of Wheatstone came along and decided that he could send code much, much faster than you could send by hand if the code was punched into a paper tape and then read on a high-speed tape reader. And I realized that I had stumbled on an early Wheatstone Morse code tape creating system and a Morse code reading system. So let me just take you on a quick tour of this stuff if I can get this to work. So we start out with a Wheatstone paper tape punch. And this is the device that makes the code in the paper tape. It punches it. And it's a very funny device because it has a dot on a left pin, a no character in the middle, and a dash on the right. And you literally use a mallet to bang on the left, the middle, or the right side of this device every time you want to record a character. And I couldn't tell what the heck these things were over on the right, but it turns out that those are the two mallets you use. You use one in your left hand and you use one in your right hand. And little black thing at the end bangs down on here, for instance, with your left hand, you bang down on this thing over here, and it writes a dot onto this paper tape that's going through this punch. And if you punch the middle by using your mallet, it spaces. And if you punch the right thing using your mallet, it makes a dash. And that in itself is pretty interesting. We look a little more closely at this device. It turns out it was made by H.W. Sullivan in London a long time ago. And look inside the mechanism. It's really very beautiful mechanism, nicely done. And you look even closer at the mechanism. Okay, it's a punch, no question about it. And then you look underneath and you see there are the three places where you hit it with a mallet and levers that go up into the punch mechanism. So it's a nice historic piece of metalwork and quite an intriguing piece. But then we start looking at the paper tape reader and the Morse converter. And by that, I mean that this reader is reading not the Morse code, but the Wheatstone code, which is a derivation of the Morse code. And I want to show you that for those of you who know Morse code, and I know there are a bunch of hams here, you'll know what I'm talking about. Look at the reader at first, and we see down here the tape feed mechanism that runs through here, and there's a pulley on the back that's run by a really old electric motor that you can see in the background there. And then there's this very complex mechanism behind glass that reads the holes in the paper tape and converts them into Morse code. And once it's done that, it operates this polar relay that we see up here. So it's a fairly complex mechanism, especially for $2 and well worth into. This is a closer view of the reading mechanism, and it's a mechanical converter that takes the punches in the tape and converts them into dashes, dots, or nothing. A little closer view of it shows you it's rather nicely made. It has some fine adjustments down here, and these little pins poke up into holes in the tape. You can see the holes up in the tape there. And if they find a hole, it operates the mechanism one way. If they don't find a hole, it operates the mechanism in a different way. Fairly simple looking, but it's actually doing a fairly complex transform of the material on the tape. Now that's the mechanism. And then I started looking at the tapes, and the tapes had labels on them. There were a lot of tapes. This is a blank tape up in the upper left. This is a box from the Navy Research Laboratory in 1936. And these tapes looked like they had Morse code punches in them. So I looked more closely at the tapes, and by God, they are old tapes. This is 11/2/1936. And it was a tape that was made at 10:33, and it was made for and by station WIY. I looked up station WIY. Y, and all of these three-letter stations that started out with a W are Army stations. So this was an Army or military station that was sending Morse code at 10:33 on 11/2/36.
Very cool.
Here's another tape, WKG, again an Army station, WKG, sending this tape at 9:50, and I don't know whether that's morning, might be PM, they're hard to tell, on 10/21 10/31 1936. So these are quite historic tapes, and I thought to myself, someday I'm going to convert these tapes into Morse code and see what they were saying. What would the military station be sending on the air at that time? Let's look at the Wheatstone code. It's a very interesting code and very unlike the Morse code, which, as you know, consists of dashes and dots or nothing. For the Wheatstone code, a dash is two punches in the tape that are offset. You can see in the upper left here the punches for the letter M. The letter M in Morse code is two dashes, and as you can see, there's an offset punch punch, another offset punch punch, and those are the two dashes for an M. Over on the right, you can see the punch set up for a dot. If you have a punch directly over another punch, it makes a dot. And that device that we saw, the converter, would take either a punch over a punch and make that into a short closure of contacts and make it into a dot. And if it encountered two offset dots, as we see on the left here, it would make it into a dash. So let's look at the word McElroy spelled out in Wheatstone code and in Morse code. The M, as we know, in Morse code is dash dash, and we see two offset punches here for the dash dash. C is dash dot dash dot. E is a dot, and L is dot dash dot dot. So this thing is actually spelling out Morse code symbols, but using the Wheatstone code. And I hadn't known about this. You have to Google this, find out, but it's very historic. Wheatstone device, instead of being limited to a manual sending telegraph key, even the best telegraph operators couldn't send more than maybe 60 words per 60 characters per second. I guess it's 60 words per minute would be the maximum that a hand key could send. The Wheatstone code was capable of sending up to 400 characters per second, if that's what the measure was. So let's look at the tapes that I got with this device. And here are a few of the tapes, and I've converted them into letters. We have, for instance, in this middle tape, dash dash dot, which is the letter G, dot dash A, dash dash dot G again, dot dot dash U, and dash dot dash dot A. Okay, and then there's a space. And this automatically brought to mind encoded messages. All of the Enigma encoded messages and most messages encoded using other systems are sent on the air in 5-letter blocks. So here we are, 5-letter block, a break, 5-letter block, a break, 5-letter block, a break, and so on. So this is an encoded tape that was sent by this military station in 1936, and it's going to be a great deal of fun to decode this message and try and figure out what the encoding technique was. They didn't have Enigma machines back then. They did have hand ciphers of various kinds and code books. So it's going to be a real challenge to figure that out. And here is some kind of an ending that you see down in the bottom of this, the bottom tape. Appears to have a very long set of dots. Dot, 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 5 dots. And before that are the letters I, K, L, dot, 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 and then IKL again. So this, perhaps the sequence right in here is some kind of break in the code. Anyway, I just thought you'd like to see what $2 can bring at a
That's
Hamfest.
awesome.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Money
well spent.
Earliest attempts at sending Morse code at a very high speed. Those of you who may wonder about it, the 400 word per minute Morse code was not received by and written down by people. It was written down on a tape, like the Wheatstone tape, by a machine, either by inscribing dashes and dots as it went along, or by the punches that you see here. So that's my story for tonight. I found it quite interesting.
Thank you, Tom.
Oh, that was great.
For less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that was really nice.
It's hard to
Good
find a cup of
stuff.
coffee at $2 these days.
It's amazing that fell into your hands. You're one of the only people around it to figure that out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was fortunate that it found it your way, I mean, somebody else could have said, what's this thing? Off it goes to the next free table. All right, anybody else have a show and tell item? We're getting close to 8:30 here, but we got a few minutes.
I got an item I could show.
Sure, John.
It'll be short. I will do that. Make sure I get this brought up here. Okay. Let me do that now. All right, there we go. Can everybody see this?
It's coming soon, I think. We got your screen share. There you go.
Nice.
Nice little Emerson. Ingraham?
Yes, it is. It is.
All right.
It is an EB 344 from 1940. This was, I got this from a family member estate. And other than it looks even better than the picture is a little bit harsh on it. It needs, just some nice cleaning and polishing out, but otherwise it's in really nice shape. And it's obviously been restored. It works absolutely great. I'll show just another picture of it. There's this sort of the nice lunchbox style cabinet in very, very nice shape. And in fact, you can see I have it tuned to WSRO, and it works. It works very nice. And so it's a relatively recent acquisition. I have, you can see it's dusty. I have to go and actually clean it and polish it up and make it look a little, bring it up a couple of levels, but it needs nothing. It obviously has been restored in the past, and it works absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, it's, no big gouges, dings, veneer issues. The inlaid marquetry is still resting in place. You got the original knobs. Very nice.
Yeah. I assumed, did was the handle always in the sort of upright where you could see the spring? Is that always the case with these?
No.
That's
Usually
not
on those, the springs were set up so that when you lifted it, the handle would extend, and when you
Yeah.
rested it, the handle would kind of go down onto the set.
That's what I
They use
suspect.
that on Bakelite, and that was a popular little gimmick for make it easy, I guess, to take it around room to room.
Yeah, because it's really not that heavy for that age, because everything is built much better than we're used to in today's world. But that seems to be the one issue with this radio is it seems to be sort of in the stuck carrying position. I haven't tried to play with it a great deal in terms of having to correct that. It's I don't view it as a big deal.
Is that a wood or a plastic handle, John?
I believe it's plastic.
Interesting.
And I don't see any evidence that this is a not original part of replace, or if it was.
No, that's an Emerson thing. So
yeah. So
Zenith put them on some small Bakelite sets, but it was more of a fixed, and it had kind of a tortoiseshell look. They didn't lift up and down, or at least the ones I have seen haven't. But yeah, that was an Emerson thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Nice set.
if it can't be fixed easily, I don't view it as much of a distraction, you know, or a detractor. It's just, I guess it would be nice, and I'll have to look and see if I haven't done anything with it yet, really, to be
Dial
honest.
looks cool, and the plastic is, I don't know if it's been replaced, but a lot of times that's very, either brushed, scuffed up, or
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of hazy. It looks good.
I'm really not sure, because I'm pretty sure it was purchased, this item. It's not been in the family, originally. I know that for a fact. The dialight all works well, but it's very possible that, either this is remarkably nice for original, or the restorer did something to replace the front plastic on there. But
Very nice.
it's a great, nice little unit. But that was it. I just thought I'd show the little show and tell with a nice little unexpected 5-tuber that I happened to get by happenstance.
I have
I've
something I
got
can.
the
Yep. Oh, there we
Bakelite
go.
version of that.
Yeah.
Same dial
Emerson.
with a
Yep,
handle.
it's got the little
Got the little gizmo.
spring
Yep.
loaded handle. Yep.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
very
the
attractive.
fun thing about Emerson was there's just so many,
Yeah,
so many permutations, and
There's bullet
a
mounts.
lot of them have the same dials, but
that's very
different
attractive, Greg.
cases, and
Yeah.
it just immense numbers of radios they produced. Yeah, it's cool. That's a nice one, Greg.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Well, I apologize if I showed this before. Or I have a good friend who's down in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, and he worked for Bendix for many, many, many years. He was a technician for them, and as he retired, he's a super guy too. He's he's one of the nicest people you'll meet, and does a lot of volunteer work and Red Cross work. He's in his 80s, and he routinely bikes miles upon miles upon miles. He's a very interesting character. He does great work with radio, and this is a little Philco PT25,
Oh, nice.
and I mean the case is just,
Yeah,
he spends a lot
sparkling.
of time polishing these things, and he's very fond of using McGuire's auto paste wax. Still has a pretty good chunk
Oh yeah.
of the label visible there.
Yeah.
Now, the back, I'm fairly certain, because it is a repro. You ever see the guys who scan the old labels and then you do the repro?
Yeah.
But he's restored it to pretty much what it should be. Added a nice little hunk of wire on there. Well,
Yeah.
Joe is getting a little burned out in the radio hobby, and his loss is my gain. And it's got these nice little
Yeah. What a-
original knobs. Pretty cool looking dial. Only problem with this is it doesn't tend to play below 850. Other than that, it sounds fantastic. So I've had a couple of people look at it, and we've had a couple of different conversations about it. It may not be something that we can solve, and I'm not sure that it's a beautiful piece for a shelf.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing is, I mean, you see my hand, you see the radio.
Yeah, I
So
know. It's a remarkable.
you can collect quite a few of these.
Well, will
And
it
the other thing, I'm sorry.
will it pick up WMEX at least?
Yes, I can get MEX. I can get BZ, clear as a bell, and
Yeah.
so it has some it has something to give me.
Awesome. What a nice little radio. I love the
And then
size.
one other thing I was going to just show John, as he's agreed to come on the show, the Zoom, our show. Speaking of codes, as Tom gave a very nice segue here, we have approached a gentleman who has written this book, and see if you can take a peek at it here. It is The Woman Who Smashed Codes by Jason Fajon, who apparently is writes for a newspaper in San Francisco, but he's also written different books on different topics. And, he'll tell us a little bit about how he got interested in this, but long story short, it's the story of a pretty cool woman who got into code breaking work, and it chronicles her early activities and also what she did in World War II as well. So he's going to share a little bit about how he got interested in writing about it and about the character itself. But anybody who would like to take a look at it. It's a bestseller. It's got reviews from the New York Times and Washington Post. So just give you a couple of little pieces here. Damn near impossible to put down. The book has everything: thrills, chills, kills, love, crypto, in a hopeful sense that a nearly forgotten American genius, Elizabeth Smith Friedman, is finally being given her due. So I'm not sure if that name means anything to any of our participants here this evening. And should be an interesting visit. And we look forward to him. He's going to join us in August and
Yes.
share some information about how he got
There was
interested in it.
there was a documentary about her a few months ago on public radio.
Interesting. I wonder if he
What
was
is there?
associated with that. We'll have to find out. We'll stay tuned and we'll find out more. And certainly, kind of always it's always a topic that seems to interest the antique radio community. Spies, codes, the place that electronics and electronic espionage played in world events. So should be a good meeting. So he's coming to see us on August 5th, all things working out. So I strongly encouraged him to go look up Steve Cushman out at the California Historical Radio Society if he wants to get a tour and take a look perhaps at some equipment that was from that era. So he seemed excited and is looking forward to joining us. So I have nothing further to bring this evening, Mr. Gibbons.
Well, that was awesome. And also good segue to an upcoming, you're getting the trailer of an upcoming
That's right.
show.
That's right. We're getting very advanced in our marketing of our Zoom.
Yeah, now we have to have, now we have to
Very
have special
sophisticated.
effects and stunt doubles,
Not
stunts.
quite sure about stunt doubles. Yeah.
like
could
Paul,
use
stick
one.
your finger in the socket.
Yeah. Well, you stay tuned. You may see that. I don't know. Maybe I'll stick it in the back of the PT-25. See if I can improve my reception below 850.
That's right.
Watch what little hair I have left go up. Right.
That's right.
All right.
Well,
any parting notes from anyone, or are we good to wrap here? Just about 8:30 tonight. Well, we wish you all a happy 4th of July weekend.
Yes, right.
What's coming your way, and
Tried to
maybe if the weather is a little cool and less cooperative, some good time to catch up on projects, listen to some radio, and
yeah, try to make the best of it. I know it's not going to be the ideal weather we'd like to have, though I'm lucky enough to have Friday and Monday off. And Monday looks like the most grill-worthy day of the 4, so I will try to do our traditional hamburgers and hot dogs then.
Yep, maybe a good day to take a radio out in the yard and put on WJIB. See if you can pick up some. He's noted for playing, themed music, so you get some patriotic stuff, and
there you go.
He's got all kinds of chestnuts from the World War II era. Maybe you get Coming In on a Wing and a Prayer, and you get some good stuff. Maybe a little Kate Smith to wrap things up. So
yeah,
good stuff.
What is the frequency that the guys get on at 9:30 tomorrow morning?
It's 3805 kilohertz on the 75 meter band.
Okay, 3805 kilohertz. Great. Okay, thank you.
All right.
What's your call sign, Per? Or are you just going to be listening?
I recently became a ham, but I can't say that I can remember my call sign offhand.
Okay. Well, are you going to try to check in, or are you just going to be
AC1 NIV, I believe.
Okay. You going to check in? You're just going to be listening?
Well, first of all, I'll see whether I can even hear you at all, but I'm going to try because I don't have much of an antenna.
Great. Okay. I think if you got a wet string, you'll hear some of us.
It's lower,
all right.
Lower sideband. Lower sideband.
Right.
Lower sideband. Okay.
I'll be listening for you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Good night. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.
Thanks you all. Thanks
Happy
for all
July
the input,
4th.
presentations, sharing. Very nice. Good job. Beauty.
Well,
Great.
take care, guys. Thanks again,
Bye-bye.
Jim, for the photos.